Hello everyone and welcome to this another video in the supplementary series. My name is Kasanas. Guys, in this video we're going to be exploring the ideas of the start and the awake function. All right, let's get started. Okay everyone, in the last episode we very briefly wrote this week 2 script and we're actually still in the week 2 content, so we're going to remain in this week 2 script. We wrote this week 2 script and we declared a handful of variables and we examined a couple of those variables here inside of the start function. What I'm going to do for now is I'm going to comment out this print statement that I had in the start function and the second print statement that I had in the start function. And I'm going to file save this. So when I run this now, it's not going to actually write anything. It has removed those print statements entirely. What I would like to do is explore the idea of the start function and explore the idea of the awake function. And this is a very interesting concept. It allows us really to kind of delay the delay actions from occurring. So the start function is automatically created. When we created this function last week, we saw the start function was automatically created. I'm going to go through right now and I'm going to add in a brand new function called the awake function. So I'm going to declare it as a void. So let's first of all talk about the structure of a function. There is the return type. This first thing I've typed here is the return type. And a void return type means it's not returning anything at all. If I want a function to return something, I can declare something explicit. Like if I want the function to, let's say, add two numbers, and I want to return to the rest of the script the value of those two numbers, I would have, let's say, an integer. I would say int the name of the script and so on. So the way it's formed is with the return type first, or even a declaration of the whether it's public or private. So you can have public function. A public function is accessible outside. A private function is only accessible locally. So in this particular case, this is a private void function that I'm going to call awake. So the next thing you need is the name of the function. It's called the awake function. And because this is associated with our mono behavior, it automatically filled everything in for me. It added in the private keyword. It added in the, well, I already had the void. It added in the awake. It added in my two brackets and my two braces as well. So this is my awake function. The awake and the start are two functions that are extremely important, and they kind of work hand in hand, I guess, in some ways. The awake function is called when a script is first loaded into being. So when a script is first loaded in, the game object that the script is on is first loaded in, stored in memory, the awake function will run. And that's regardless of whether or not the script itself is enabled. The start function, the one that we've got down here, the start function is called when the script is first enabled. So if my script is not enabled to begin with, the start function will not be available. And we'll take a look at exactly what that means in just 1 second. For now, I'm going to add in here a couple of print statements so that we can identify. I don't know why I made a comment. It's not a comment. I'm going to add in here a couple of print statements to allow us to see when these things are actually running. So I'm going to say print, and I'm going to say ran the awake. All right, and go to the end here and add my semicolon. I'm going to grab and copy this, and I'm going to add the print statement in here. Instead, I'm going to say ran the start. All right, and I'm going to file save this. Now, what you'll note is that as soon as the script is loaded, as soon as the script comes into being, is loaded in, it'll automatically run the awake. And when the script is enabled, which it starts off automatically enabled, it'll run the start function. The awake will always run before the start function. So you might have questions about why you do this. Let's just take a look at it first, and then we'll discuss why we might need this. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to clear my warnings because, again, it's just warnings about how I initialized things and not used it. And I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to run this script. All right. So what you'll see down here is ran the awake, ran the start. It doesn't matter how many times I run this. Each and every time, it'll say exactly the same thing. Ran the awake, ran the start. It'll give me the time. The awake will always run before the start. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's clear this And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the script over here in the inspector. I'm just going to right click it like this, or sorry, left click like that. It's going to remove that check mark. That means that this script is not enabled. The script not being enabled means it's not available. Nothing inside of it's available except for, well, there's a couple things that are available, and we'll see that as we move forward. But the script, nothing inside of the start function is going to run. Only the awake function is going to run. I've got this turned off. So let me run this once again. Let's hit play. And let's look down here in the console, and we can see ran the awake. Great. The start didn't run yet. If I come over here to the inspector and I click on the week 2 script, click, it immediately ran the start function as well. So this shows that we can initialize things within our script. Let me just stop this. We can initialize things within our script by including it in the awake function. We can initialize things even before anything else is available inside of our awake function. Now, why would we want to do this? This might be important if you are waiting for something to come into being. You're initializing some value that's used elsewhere. Elsewhere in the start function, you say you do this certain thing, and this again is getting to slightly more complicated concepts, but you're doing certain thing and it relies on something else being available in some other script. You can't actually run that start function. It'll give you an error. You can't run that start function until you are positive that the other object is loaded or is available. So as soon as the object's loaded, the awake function runs. You can initialize values within here or variables within here, and then other scripts can then access, regardless of whether or not the start functions run here, other things can access the values inside of the awake. So you typically do not want to use the awake to retrieve values from other objects. You typically want to use the awake as an initialization zone where you are initializing things. So if you're reading, you're examining an object for something, and et cetera, you might do that within the awake. Make sure that everything values are associated with all of your variables, and then you might access those variables through the start function. Okay, that's a really, really important concept that you have to learn to know, that you need to know. I said that really weird. That's a really important concept that you need to know. The awake function will run as soon as an object's loaded, and the start function will run as soon as the script is enabled. All right, everyone, really short, a little bit extra that you got there. That's the end of this particular video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know down below with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.